Picture this. A brilliant Jewish scholar stands before the greatest minds of ancient Greece, about to turn their own altar against unknown gods in history. This is the story of how Paul the Apostle transformed Athens itself into a launching pad for the gospel. It's around 50 AD, and Paul finds himself wandering through Athens, the intellectual capital of the ancient world. This isn't just any city, but the Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Every marketplace echoes with discussions about truth, meaning, and the nature of existence. But as Paul walks these legendary streets, something disturbs his spirit deeply. Everywhere he looks, he sees idols. Statues of Zeus, Athena, Apollo, and countless other gods crowd the temples and public spaces. Acts 17:16 tells us Paul was greatly distressed to see the city was full of idols, who worshipped the one true God. Yet Paul doesn't retreat. Instead, he does what he always does. He heads straight into the heart of the action. He begins teaching in the synagogues, engaging with Jews who might be receptive to his message about Jesus as the promised Messiah. Word spreads quickly about this strange new teacher. The Epicurean and Stoic philosophers, representing two major schools of Greek thought, become curious about Paul's message. The Epicureans believed in pursuing pleasure and avoiding pain, while the Stoics emphasized virtue and accepting fate. Both groups pride themselves on intellectual sophistication, and this foreign preacher presents them with ideas they've never encountered. Some dismiss Paul as a babbler, using a Greek word that literally means seed picker, someone who collects scraps of ideas without real understanding. Others are more intrigued, especially when Paul speaks about Jesus and the resurrection. To Greek ears, this sounds like he's introducing two new foreign deities, Jesus and Anastasis, the Greek word for resurrection. Their curiosity piques, and they invite Paul to address the Areopagus, also known as Mars Hill. This isn't just any speaking engagement. The Areopagus serves as Athens' supreme court and intellectual forum, where the city's most important matters get discussed. It's where Socrates himself once faced trial. For Paul, this represents an unprecedented opportunity to present the gospel to the philosophical elite of the ancient world. As Paul stands before this distinguished audience, he makes a brilliant strategic decision. Instead of attacking their beliefs head-on, he begins with appreciation and observation. "People of Athens," he declares, "I see that in every way you are very religious." He's noticed something specific during his walks through their city that will become his bridge to the gospel. "As I walked around and looked carefully at your objects of worship," Paul continues, "I found an altar with this inscription, 'To an unknown God.' This altar represents something profound about human nature. Despite having hundreds of named gods, the Athenians still felt something was missing. They erected an altar to cover their bases, just in case there was a deity they'd overlooked. Paul seizes this moment of spiritual uncertainty. "So you are ignorant of the very thing you worship," he declares, "and this is what I am going to proclaim to you." What follows is one of the most masterful presentations of the gospel ever recorded. Paul doesn't quote Hebrew scriptures these Greeks wouldn't understand. Instead, he speaks their language, literally and figuratively. He describes God as the creator who made the world and everything in it, and who does not live in temples built by human hands. This directly challenges their temple-based religion while presenting a grander vision of divinity. Paul explains that this God is not served by human hands as if he needed anything, overturning their entire system of sacrificial worship designed to appease needy deities. Then Paul drops a bombshell that would have resonated deeply with Greek philosophical thinking. He quotes their own poets, saying, "In him we live and move and have our being, and we are his offspring." By using familiar Greek poetry, Paul demonstrates that their own culture contains hints of the truth he's proclaiming. The response is mixed but significant. Some mock Paul, especially when he mentions the resurrection of the dead. Greeks generally believed in the immortality of the soul, but found the idea of bodily resurrection absurd. Others expressed genuine interest, saying, "We want to hear you again on this subject." Most importantly, some believe. Luke records that a few people became followers of Paul and believed, including Dionysius, a member of the Areopagus itself, and a woman named Damaris. These conversions represent Christianity's first foothold in the intellectual capital of the ancient world. Paul's approach in Athens reveals timeless principles for sharing faith across cultural boundaries. He showed respect for his audience, found common ground in their existing beliefs, and presented the gospel in terms they could understand. The unknown God became the perfect bridge between Greek searching and Christian truth, proving that every culture contains traces of humanity's longing for the divine.